Hi everyone, thanks for sticking with me to the end of this series. This is the third and last video I'm going to do on kanji, until something else occurs to me at least. In my previous videos I talked about how I learned to read some kanji, how I teach my students kanji, and just kind of the basic philosophy I have around it. This video I really want to get into how I personally learned how to read and write kanji and actually retain that for long term. Because I did study it in university, but I didn't retain anything much more than a few days after the test. Now, it wasn't until I discovered something called Remembering the Kanji by Heisig, I think it's James Heisig, that I really took off in my kanji retention. So that's what I'm going to be talking about during this video. So now, up front, this video is not to teach you how to pronounce the various kanji characters. It doesn't do that. You can refer to my previous videos as to why I don't think that's particularly important. Right now we're focusing on how to write and how to recognize the meaning of the characters. Okay, so now in a traditional kanji class, or in a traditional Japanese class, when they're teaching kanji, they use a seemingly quite logical approach to it. Generally, kanji that aren't too complicated to write and that appear quite commonly are taught first, allowing students to make use of the kanji right away, which is great. I expose my students to kanji in a similar way. That being said, for people looking to actually be able to write kanji and to retain kanji long term, that's not really the best approach. It's more of a shortcut to be able to use kanji right away. Now, if you're looking to really sit down, spend some time, and actually learn a significant amount of kanji, I would recommend Heisig's Remembering the Kanji. So basically how it works is instead of trying just to teach people words, they look at the alphabet first, or at least the Chinese character version of an alphabet. So these characters are made up of radicals. So you can kind of see how there's multiple pieces to some of the characters there. Those aren't just random strokes. They actually are radicals or pieces. Kind of think of it as the alphabet, kind of. It is different, but for now. So in Remembering the Kanji by Heisig, instead of teaching by commonality, instead of thinking how can we get people using kanji the quickest, they think, okay, what's the best way to get people to remember all the kanji and for long term? And they do that by structuring things around radicals, or the individual pieces of the kanji. So the ones across the top here are all radicals. Now these three are actually also characters on their own, but you'll also see them as part of other characters. Now, if we introduce, or if we learn, these two ones here, so ten, or as a radical it's sometimes known as needle as well, day or sun, and moon or month, excuse me, we can learn a whole bunch of other kanji based on those. So for example, just with these two here, I can now write early, because all early is a day on top of a 10. So you can see the day kind of got squished down here. So it's a slightly different shape, but it's a day over a 10. So now anyone that's seen any of my videos before is going to know why I love this next part. You remember these through stories. So all you need is a really short story that includes the names of the individual radicals that show up, as well as the name for the overall character. So for example, I look at this and I think of something like, wow, the sun is out at 10? That's so early. Okay? And I've got sun and 10 and early, so I have a pretty good shot at remembering that character. And because these are both so simple and easy to write, I have a pretty good shot at remembering how to actually write that character as well. Okay, but yeah, this one's pretty simple. You could make the argument that you could probably just memorize this by itself. Let's keep going. So if we add moon, then we unlock a number of other characters. This is just one example. So if you look at this character here, we're starting to get a little bit more complicated. This is a character from morning, and just looking at it does look a little more complicated. But if you look at it closer, you see there's really only three radicals there. There's a 10, there's a sun, and there's a moon, and of course another 10. That being said, when I'm creating my story for this, I'm not going to look at it like that. What I'm going to look at it in is the biggest pieces that I already know. So I'm going to look at it as 10, early, and moon. Okay? So I might come up with a story such as, wow, 10? That's so early in the morning. I can still see the moon. Okay? Anything that works for you to remember. Now, in the book, Hasig will give you stories. Sometimes he talks about looking at it as a picture, various things to help you remember. Sometimes I steal it from the book if I like those. Sometimes I create my own if I feel like the one in the book isn't going to stick with me personally. Okay? So often you can just look at it and create whatever jumps out at you. Okay? So we've got this one. It's gotten a little more complicated. But let's go another step. We've got the character over here for tide. Now, most people, as they're looking at this, are going to start to think, okay, yeah, we're starting to get a lot of strokes here. I'm definitely going to mess up one of those strokes when I'm trying to write this character. Now, my characters aren't overly pretty. I've never been too concerned with that. Maybe I should be, but I haven't been. So yeah, it's not pretty, but I remember how to write it because it's actually not complicated, even though it looks a little complicated. Because really, it's just morning right there, plus these 3 strokes here, which is the radical for water. Okay, so really, if I can write these 4 really simple radicals here, I can write this. And it's not hard to remember as long as I'm remembering it as the radicals. So for tide, I might think of something as simple as the water that comes in the morning is the tide. Done. Now I can write a character with a decent number of strokes and be fairly confident that I'm going to get it right, because when you look at it like that, it's actually not complicated. And you can see how this can keep moving down as you keep adding more and more radicals to the point where you're getting to quite complicated characters and it not actually being that difficult to remember what they are and how to write them. Now, the other thing I really like about this method is it helps prevent you from mixing up similar looking characters. So, for example, down here, we have 3 characters that just use a different radical in the middle there. But you could be forgiven for mixing those up with each other if you're just trying to remember it like as a picture like that with all the strokes. Now, if you remember it by, oh, in the middle there, that's mouth. And in the middle there, that's ear, or like listen, then you're not going to forget it because mouth and ear are not similar. Okay, so it's really easy to prevent yourself from mixing those up as long as you're memorizing with meaning rather than just trying to memorize a picture with a whole bunch of strokes. That's going to make things really difficult for you. Okay, so again, not a shortcut to be able to use kanji right away. What this is a really well structured and organized method to learn a large, like a significant amount of kanji that's going to actually be quite meaningful when you start reading. Okay, and it's actually, in my case, and in a lot of people's cases, this has helped us retain the kanji really long term. So long term, in fact, that like I would hold up a book of the Remembering the Kanji by Hasig right now. I must have forgotten my copy in Japan when I moved back, but I still remember these characters, I don't even know now, 10 years later, because it's just a simple story. I may not even remember the original stories. You do kind of forget them over time, and you just know the characters. Okay, so I cannot recommend this highly enough. There is a link to the book on Amazon in the description. Full disclosure, it's an affiliate link, so if you want to toss me a couple percent, use the link. If not, it doesn't even matter, okay? I can't stress this enough. Get your hands on this book. Check out this method. You can read up about it online. Lots and lots of people have found success using this method. Please check it out. You will not regret it. Anyways, that's the end of my kanji videos for now. The next video I think I'm going to do is going to be about how to learn Japanese through reading, some more specific techniques around that. and there'll start to be some of my videos popping up here. Check out some of my animations, check out some of my videos about my books somewhere around here, and there should be a subscribe button somewhere around here as well. It's always nice if people subscribe and leave a comment to let me know what they thought about the video or other videos they'd like me to consider doing in the future. Thanks for sticking with me to the end if you're still there. Subscribe, like, comment, and see you next time.